Hey everyone, it's Andrews here. There are currently between 1 and 2 million apps on the Play Store and many of them are games. It's true that a lot of them are pretty bad, like those ones where you just run around and make the character gain weight, but usually there's a hidden gem, an offline game that's totally worth it. And today I've got 15 of them right here, so if you're curious, hit that like button and let's go. Let's start with something really iconic that a lot of people don't know about. There's actually a Diablo 1 port for Android. Let's talk about DEVILUTIONX. The main feature of DEVILUTIONX is that it recreates the original game with a ton of improvements, like bug fixes, support for modern screens, better performance, and compatibility with current systems. The game sticks to the classic Diablo structure, where players explore dungeons, fight monsters, and gather equipment and skills to defeat the Lord of Hell Diablo. It's one of the very first games that gave birth to the genre, and the best part, it's totally bug-free, no in-app purchases, completely offline, and runs beautifully on Android, but just a heads up, the game is pretty hard. An old game that not many people know about these days, let's talk about the legendary RAVENSWORD. In the game, players take on the role of a hero, exploring a vast open world filled with mysterious lands, dungeons, villages, and dangerous enemies. The story revolves around the character seeking revenge and redemption, and of course he's on a quest for the RAVENSWORD to defeat the main villain. The game offers a huge world to explore with diverse environments like forests, mountains, and dungeons. The map is expansive and full of secrets waiting to be uncovered. Luckily, this game didn't die like many others on the Play Store. It's a bit limited in terms of combat, but the story and everything else totally make up for it. The game offers hours and hours of offline gameplay as you explore its open world. Now, let's talk about a beat 'em up with a really good story, School Hero. The story usually revolves around the protagonist trying to deal with everyday issues like friendships, rivalries, and of course some kind of supernatural threat or event. The goal of the game is to face these challenges whether through combat, problem solving, or interacting with other characters. The game does a great job of blending anime elements, especially school-themed ones, with beat-em-up gameplay. At certain points you have to save a girl being bullied, other times you need to get a girlfriend and even defeat the leader of a gang who looks a lot like characters from Pokemon. It's a fun and funny mix and it really excites you both through its story and its gameplay, which deserves a solid 10. I've seen a total of 0 people talking about this game and I think it's very relaxing and enjoyable to play. Let's talk about WYTCHWOOD. In the game, you take on the role of a mysterious witch who lives in a forest. Your mission is to explore picturesque landscapes, collect magical ingredients, brew spells, and judge peculiar creatures and characters. The gameplay focuses on resource gathering, solving puzzles, and interacting with a diverse cast of figures inspired by fairy tales. The art style of WYTCHWOOD is remarkable, with graphics that resemble illustrations from storybooks featuring autumn landscapes and magical elements that create an immersive atmosphere. This is the kind of game you play to relax, watch the characters' stories unfold, and of course enjoy a nice simulation game. This is one of the most underrated games of all time. It simply offers everything. Let's talk about White Flame. The game often features an expansive world to explore with different areas and hidden locations. You can interact with NPCs, take on side quests, collect items, and uncover hidden secrets. The story is that you're a pirate or something like that and your ship crashes, leaving you in another world filled with hostile creatures and sometimes even hybrid humans. Of course, you need to find a way out of there. The game might seem like an adventure, but the truth is it blends RPG and action elements really well. Your character progression is solid and it does a great job of that in an open world free to explore. That's why I think this game is so underrated, and on top of that, it's offline. A lot of people don't know this, but this is one of the most complete games for those who love the old school Counter-Strike. Let's talk about Brutal Strike. This game is simple to explain, which is why it's on this list. The first important thing to know is that the game works totally offline or online, but only if you want to. It's very similar to Counter-Strike 1.6, but with infinite mods to play of all types. If you just want to play offline, you can add BOTS and even customize your playstyle. Or you can dive into the zombie mode or other thousands of options in the online format the game offers. Brutal Strike is lightweight and fast, its gameplay is spot on, and it delivers an experience just like the famous Counter-Strike, but offline. I usually feel a bit embarrassed by Android horror games. Most of them are the same and they throw an ad every second, but this one's different. Let's talk about The School White Day. The game follows Lee Heeman, a student who sneaks into Yondu High School at night to leave a gift for the girl he has a crush on. However, he soon discovers that the school is filled with dark secrets, terrifying ghosts, and a psychotic janitor who hunts him down. As he explores, he uncovers a gruesome story involving rituals, curses, and supernatural events tied to the school. Just the fact that the game has cutscenes and isn't about being stuck in a house for no reason already makes it better than many others. The game has some interesting scenes and isn't just filled with cheap jump scares, it manages to build real excitement just like any good horror game should. A totally unknown Metroidvania on Android, completely offline, and it's really good. Let's talk about UMISONIA. In the game, you follow a red-haired doll whose name I forgot, and her goal is to restore the Tree of Life that protects the place where she lives, while also bringing life to other creatures of the jungle. Something evil is destroying the tree from the inside, and you need to investigate what's going on. The game delivers a very complete Metroidvania experience with freedom to explore, great combat, and a pretty dark story. It's worth mentioning that the game is still in development, and every time I go in to test it, I notice improvements. This game really has great potential. I've loved fighting games since Mortal Kombat 3 on the Nintendo, and whenever I can, I'm always playing one. One of my favorites on Android is VITA Fighters. What makes VITA Fighters stand out is that it's a normal fighting game. You know those games like Mortal Kombat Mobile where everything is combos and stiff characters? Forget that. VITA Fighters will give you a super complete fighting experience. The game features several original characters along with tributes to famous fighters from different anime franchises and fighting games. The game gets constant updates with new characters, stages, and improvements to the fighting system. And here's something interesting, the game will eventually lose its offline mode, but it will be replaced with an online version with PvP, which will honestly be pretty awesome. I love VITA Fighters, and without a doubt, it's one of the most underrated fighting games on Android. Even though Android is flooded with racing games, the truth is that most of them are simple. However, this one managed to stand out. Let's talk about Underground Rivals 2.
Do not miss any checkpoint.
The game simply has everything a racing game needs, and that's what makes it so good. For example, a lot of people ask for a campaign mode. Basically an offline mode where you improve your car and complete missions to do so, and that's the main focus of the game. It's undeniable that the game took a lot of inspiration from Need for Speed Underground, but that's actually a good thing. There are various types of races, and graphically the game looks really good. However, the one thing the game could improve on a bit is the car sounds. If it had better sound effects, it would definitely be a 10 out of 10 game. But even so, it's a game that really gets you excited, especially for car enthusiasts. An open world game from a completely different culture, but I highly recommend it, is really good. Let's talk about ZAPTIYE. This action-adventure open-world game is set during the Ottoman Empire period. In it, you play as a ZAPTIYE, a type of police officer from the time tasked with maintaining order and fighting criminals in the streets of Istanbul. The game features an interesting open world with a large city to explore. Besides the main story, it also offers various NPCs and many other activities to do in the game world. Even though it's a third-person game, the Wild West style combat is very well done and reminds me a lot of those classic PS1 games. ZAPTIYE may not be the best game in the world, but it sure can entertain you a lot. This game has a really cool story and a combat system that also surprised me. Let's talk about the 2D game called Ultimate Reality. In this game, players take on the role of a hero capable of traveling between different dimensions to combat interdimensional threats and restore balance between universes. You can switch between different realities, each with its own characteristics and challenges to solve puzzles and overcome obstacles. The combat is pretty dynamic, and even though you play as a hero, it feels like he doesn't have many abilities like Batman. So you mostly have to punch the villains. If you enjoy 2D games with interesting combat, you'll definitely like this game, which is completely underrated. This game manages to mix several different elements together, and it turned out incredibly well. Let's talk about MARGONEN Adventure. MARGONEN Adventure is a free pixel art RPG that combines elements of roguelike and deck building. Developed by Garmery, the game offers a dungeon exploration experience, strategic battles, and item collection. This game is a mix of roguelike, card game, and action gameplay, and all of it is incredibly well done. As players progress, they can upgrade their characters, acquire powerful equipment, and adjust their deck to face tougher challenges. I really enjoyed this game. It's quite challenging, and the level of experience you gain increases as you improve your gameplay and cards. One of the best old times RPG games Android has ever seen. Let's talk about the legendary Exiled Kingdom. The main story of Exiled Kingdoms takes place in a fantasy world where you play as a hero who has been exiled from their homeland. The game starts with the character waking up in a small town called Jabal after being banished from their home due to some unknown event. The goal is to explore the vast world around, facing dangers, uncovering mysteries, and unraveling the truth behind your exile. The game can last just the main quest or several more hours if you decide to do side missions and explore the world. The game also features multiple endings. The big drawback of Exiled Kingdoms is really the combat, but for those who love an old times RPG, this will still be a great game. This is the type of game where you could spend hours and hours exploring its open world. Let's talk about DREDGE. Dredge is an adventure and mystery game with elements of fishing, exploration, and management set on a dark, isolated island. You play as a fisherman who arrives in a small, decaying town where you buy and pilot a boat to fish, explore the seas, and sell your catches. The game blends fishing mechanics with an engaging narrative and a growing sense of tension as you uncover the dark secrets of the region. One of the best things about the game is undoubtedly exploring its open world. The sea is full of monsters, and some of them are flying creatures as well. There's always a different type of fish, and you can explore and work in a highly addictive way in this game. I myself played thinking I wouldn't like it, but I ended up putting in 52 hours of gameplay. And that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed discovering these hidden gems with me. If you did, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below with your thoughts. Also, let me know if you've tried any of these games or if you have other recommendations. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.